The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Welcome to Speaking with the Senator. I'm Kevin Avard, your host, State Senator here for District 12, and welcome to the show. And I'm going to ask you in the beginning, if you like our shows and you're seeing them on YouTube, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so that you can get more of this goodness that's coming out over the air. But anyway, thanks for watching the show. And as you know, we're entering into the political season, and there's a lot of people that, they said, I think I've had enough. And it's time for me to step up to the plate and get involved, maybe a little bit more aggressively in getting into the political field. A lot of people are waking up these days and say, you know what, I think I can make a difference. I can make a positive contribution. And so with that, I'd like to introduce you to my next guest, somebody who's very new to TV. But anyway, welcome, Gail Huff.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Gail Brown or Gail Huff Brown?
Just Gail.
Gail.
Just Gail.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm at home. I feel like I'm at
They can't see the green.
No, green screens are like, I'm at home.
Yes, I'm on the lily pad. I feel like Kermit the Frog here sometimes.
Exactly.
So welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So you've watched news over the years. You've been engaged in asking a lot of questions.
Oh, my goodness, yes.
You've seen the spins and people, how they avoid questions and how politicians just go back and forth. But you said you've had enough of it.
I've had enough of it.
Yeah.
And I am not a politician,
Right.
Senator. I never aspired to be a politician. My husband is a politician. I am not. But I became very, very, very disenchanted with what was happening in Washington and with this president. And it was after Afghanistan that I was sitting at home, and as usual, I'll say digesting because I'm a news junkie, so I'm digesting information and news all day long, whether it's the internet, newspaper, television, radio. I'm watching, and of course I was watching things unfold in Afghanistan, and bless you for your family service there. I was insane when I saw what was happening there, and Americans left behind, the troops being pulled out, billions of dollars worth of military equipment, lives that have been lost there, to protect and save Afghans and Afghanis. It was devastating.
It makes Benghazi look like kindergarten play.
It does. It does.
And Benghazi was a very, very bad event. But it's like this administration is on steroid as far as leaving people behind.
Yeah. Well, and now, of course, we're looking at what's happening in Russia and Ukraine and wondering what's going to happen there. And my prayer is that this time President Biden will listen to his own military experts and will follow their advice and not go it alone, because that's exactly what he did in Afghanistan, and it was exactly the wrong path.
And we have troops over there now.
We do.
We have troops, and I know we have to protect our allies, but I think if Russia thought we were strong, they wouldn't be doing this.
Well, I agree with that, and I don't know. It's hard to imagine where we'd be if President Trump was still, in the White House, obviously. But the series of events that have occurred in the past year are they're overwhelming. I mean, now we're looking at the highest inflation that we've had in 40 years. We're looking at other countries to produce and give oil to us. We were energy independent.
Right.
I mean, that's key.
So one of the things that I've observed over my tenure in service that when it comes to our party, specifically the Republican Party, I find that there is more dialogue, that it is open debate within our ranks, questioning, okay, well, if somebody's going to question Sununu, they're going to question him. If somebody's going to question Senator Avard, they're going to question him, or anybody else that's serving. They're not afraid to ask tough questions. Have you heard any tough questions from Representative Pappas to this administration?
None.
Exactly.
None.
How about
There are no questions.
How about Representative Custer or Hassan? I don't see it. And that's one thing I think is really interesting about our party, is that we're not afraid to challenge our leaders within our ranks and openly. But we don't see that on the other side. It's pretty much you keep quiet.
Well, that's the only way you stay in power. If you want to be in power, you have to keep all of your pawns in a row and make sure that all of them are quiet and vote along with you, so you can keep that power structure there. And that's exactly what the Democrats do. Republicans are, we're a different breed.
We're
totally
We're
different
definitely
breed.
a bigger umbrella.
Yes, much bigger.
And you saw dissent even in the previous administration, in the Bush administration. You've seen them all. But you don't see that with this particular, and that means that the people aren't being represented.
Well, I agree with you. And I think Joe Biden is figuring that out, because he's finding out that, he came into office claiming he was going to be right down the middle and represent all of America, Democrats, Republicans, and he was going to be the man to unite and bring us all together. And then he went far, far, far to the left with the liberal arm of the party, the Bernies, the Elizabeth Warrens, just
AOC.
brought him way over to the left. And then all of a sudden he's going, oh, where's all my support? Oh, guess what? America doesn't want to go there.
Right.
We don't want to go there. He's got to hear that loud and clear now. And if he doesn't, let me help him. I brought this for you, Senator. On the front, of course, Gail Huff Brown for Congress.
Yes.
But on the back, say no to Joe. Say no to taxes continuing to go up.
Right.
Say no to more regulations. Say no to a porous border. Say no to inflation going up. Say no to just the direction of our country. So this is for you.
I will take that. Thank you very, very much. I really appreciate this. I'm going to have you sign it too.
Of course.
One of the things that's really troubling about this administration, and again, we're not seeing any opposition in their own party, but when we see ICE agents taking some of these individuals that have crossed our border illegally, and then instead of sending them back or housing them until they can be, prosecuted or processed or however you want to call it, they're being shipped around the nation. And it was caught on camera.
Yeah. Well, that was the final. We knew it, right? All this information was leaking out that these illegals were being sent all over the country, but we didn't know where. We didn't, in the middle of the night, and then finally we saw evidence of it, and it was, aha. Okay. So how do we stop that?
Well, I would hope that my representatives, like Representative Pappas or Custer, would say something.
But they don't.
Exactly, and that's the problem.
Why we have to fire them.
And they're being shipped to New Hampshire. They're being shipped all across the country.
Yep.
Now we're getting this sanctimonious discussion, vaccines and masks and COVID and the whole 9 yards, and people have their own opinions about that. But when you have this higher moral sanctimonious language coming from this administration, and yet they're shipping around the nation people, we don't know if they're vaccinated.
No idea.
We're talking to some folks from Pfizer, and they said, listen, we understand we're still developing things, but one of our big concerns is new strains of tuberculosis that we don't have a vaccine for. And they're bringing people across the border. We don't know. So the local municipalities have to absorb the cost of their care. They're not part of the system. They're here illegally, and they're being shipped, and we don't know if they're vaccinated. How can we know if they're vaccinated? Well, will this administration share us that information? I don't think so. But the deafening silence from Pappas and Custer is just it's beyond comprehension. Why aren't they representing the people from New Hampshire? Why aren't they speaking up?
It's disturbing.
Yes.
It's not. I mean, it is beyond comprehension. I would agree with you, but I would go a step further. It's really disturbing and even dangerous. It's dangerous to be bringing people into communities when we don't know whether they have terrorist ties. We don't know whether they are infected with COVID. We don't know if they're infected with TB or some other disease. We don't know what their alliances are or whether they're going to be able to support themselves or live off our economy, which is what happens, as you know, much of the time. But it's a real serious problem. We have to finish the wall. We have to secure our border. This is a nation of laws. We are a nation of laws. And if the first entrance into the country is disobeying the law, what kind of message does that send?
It really doesn't send a positive one.
Exactly.
So Afghanistan, that was one of the things that just the straw that broke the camel's back. What are some of the other issues? Well, obviously, you mentioned the energy independence. We did ship energy out. Now we're dependent upon it. So, again, what are your thoughts about that?
I think that there's no question that we need to work on our energy independence. And we do that in so many ways. Solar, nuclear. Look how important nuclear power is to us here in New Hampshire. Hydro. We have to look at all of these resources. We can't just go in a short period of time into this green universe. This has to be a long process. We are going to kill our economy. We're going to kill the world economy by continuing to go in this direction. I mean, just shutting off the Keystone Pipeline, big mistake, huge mistake. And then our own president is supporting the Russian pipeline. It makes no sense to me.
It doesn't make sense. And it's almost like a controlled demolition of this country. Step by step, everywhere you turn, there seems to be some type of, well, wait a minute, why is it okay for Russia to do it, to do what they're doing? And now they're holding the European countries captive because they're dependent on their gas.
Yeah.
And so are they going to come into the defense with NATO? I don't think so. Where's Pappas?
He's silent. He's been silent and hiding since COVID began.
Well, hiding worked for Biden.
I'm sorry?
Hiding worked for Biden in this last. So
absolutely,
maybe they're taking the same cue.
Yeah, maybe. I think if you think you're winning, right, politically, then the best thing to do is to hide behind a curtain because then, you make no mistakes if you can hide behind a curtain. But guess what? At some point, you have to step out from behind that curtain and you have to be available to your public. You are their servant. You have to answer the questions. You have to be accountable. You lose your accountability when you hide behind a wall. And that's what's happening. And COVID allowed for that hiding. It allowed for that.
So you must have got a little bit of shop talk with Senator Brown.
Explain. What's shop talk?
Basically, when he was a senator.
Yeah.
I'm sure you folks had to talk about things and on how things run, how things get processed, and what are some of the hurdles of getting your agenda done.
Oh, yeah.
You must have had a lot of conversation.
So remember, I'm a journalist for 30 years.
Right.
I was working for ABC News when I was in Washington, and he was serving in the Senate. So we did have a lot of conversations about that. I got a chance to see from the inside and the outside because I was also covering many of these people. I mean, to a certain extent, we had to have a firewall, because we had to respect each other's boundaries and professions. But what I got a chance to see is that nothing in Washington is as it appears. Nothing. And if you know that, and you know what the monster is, it's easier to tackle it.
Yeah.
And that's, I feel like my being able to go to Washington and be in Congress, I rely on the skills that I've been able to build. I've been there. I know what's happening. I know the tricks. I've seen the tricks. I've seen it both from the inside as a spouse and the outside as a journalist.
Right.
And it's a tricky thing to maneuver, but I feel like I have sort of that internal knowledge now that allows me to approach it very differently.
So what are you hearing? I mean, you haven't been on the campaign trail too long. What are you hearing right now from your constituents, from people around New Hampshire?
Oil, price of oil. My daughter last week, she paid $650 to fill her oil tank. And last time she filled it, it was $300. I mean, what if you're on a fixed income? What if you're on a fixed income and you can't afford that extra $350? And a lot of people in New Hampshire are in that position.
They are.
And those are the people I talk to.
We're an aging state.
Yes.
Definitely an aging state. A lot of people are retiring.
Yes. And they, they're looking at their oil, they're saying, I'm going to have to make a decision between heat and eat. Do I heat my home or do I put food on the table? Look at the price of food, bacon. I laugh at my husband.
I do the food shopping in my house.
Well, so does Scott.
Yeah.
So does Scott. And he came home 6 weeks ago, and this bacon thing started. Honey, have you noticed the price of bacon? I'm like, honey, no, I don't go to the grocery store. Anyway, he came home the next week, and the next week. The price of bacon has just gone up, 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 up. We now have 8 things of bacon in the freezer because
stocking up.
He's stocking up because he knows the price is going to continue to go up, and that's going to happen to all of our goods and services.
There's no signs of it going down.
No.
I listened to his discussions just this morning. President Biden's, as far as his reasoning why we have this inflation. Well, we have blockades and the cost of chips are going up. And what planet are you on, man?
That's not
I'd like to quote him.
Wait,
Come on, man.
Was Trump in there? Trump must have been in there somewhere. Because everything that happened over the past, 20 years is Trump's fault.
Yeah,
so.
After a while, I had to turn it off. I'm very disappointed and can be very discouraged because we still have 3 years left of this. And
no, we don't. If we flip the House and make it Republican and we get another seat in the Senate and keep the seats we have, guess what? We stop President Biden and his agenda. Mm-hmm. And that is my goal. We have to stop him. In the midterms, we have that chance as Republicans. Right. If we unite and come together and take this seat and get 4 other seats, we can stop it.
Yeah.
We can stop it. We have that power. And we have to recognize that the power lies in our hands. And how are we going to make that change? Mm-hmm. We're going to vote for a Republican who is common sense, who is conservative, who can work with other people, and who can make that happen. And I think I'm that person.
I think when you get into, folks, when you get into this, as state rep, you get local city councilors and on and on. But as you get into a broader representation of people, you really have to have a listening skills. You've got to develop those listening skills because you have a core, and they're very important. And it's all about the bass, the song. I should have sang that, right? It's all about the bass.
Oh, no. You're going to put that in my head now. You're going to put that in my head.
But at the same time, there are other people that are independent that might not always agree with your base, and you still have to reach out to them and represent all of them. And that's a fine thing to needle through because you want to keep to your principles, and you have to keep to them. But at the same time, people have to know that you really are genuinely listening to them. And I don't see that in this administration now on any level.
I will say, Senator, that I feel like that is my greatest strength. Mm-hmm. As a reporter, as a journalist, my job was to interview, to listen, to research, to gather information, and to find the truth, to get to the bottom of something. That is desperately needed in Washington.
It's we need it in the media today as well.
We do.
Yeah,
we do.
We get a lot of parrots in there.
I agree. I agree.
Speaking the narratives of the administration and not challenging them. It used to be there was a time when reporters would challenge the administration, even if you disagreed with them to some degree. Ted Koppel, bring him back.
Yeah, well, I mean, respectfully, I'd like to say that I was one of those journalists mm-hmm. that held everyone to a certain standard and accountable, because that's our job as journalists. It's our job to shine a light on the good things in our community, right? And you do that mm-hmm. in your shows. It's our job to shine a light on that, but it's also our job to pull out and look for the things that aren't working and the things that need to be changed. Mm. And that is a skill that I think is very, very important in Congress and in Washington. And it's something that has been lost. And I want to bring it back.
How's the campaign looking right now?
It's great. I mean, we've, getting out to meet as many people as I can, talking to as many people as I can, visiting GOP committees, meeting with activists, meeting with literally everyone I can. People say, "What's your strategy?" I say, "My strategy is to talk to everyone."
There you go.
I
Yep.
want to see you. I want to look you in the eye. I want to talk to you about what's important to you. I want to listen to you, back to your issue about listening. What is it that you need? What does our community need? What does our state need? And how do we keep, because I think New Hampshire is the best state in the entire country.
I do.
How do we keep it that way? How do we keep it that way? That's what I want to do.
And so we talked about Afghanistan. We talked a little bit about energy. What are some of the other issues that, listening to people,
Well, I recently became a grandmother. And
congratulations.
Thank you. And then my other daughter, Ayla, is expecting. So we have another grandchild coming this summer.
Is she the singer?
She's a singer, yeah. She was on American Idol, and she's a singer. And I'm really, really concerned about what's happening in the schools now. And I desperately want to be part of a parent's Bill of Rights. We parents need to have in writing our Bill of Rights. We have the right to know what our children are reading. We have the right to know what their curriculum is. We have the right to know what teachers are teaching. And I think that, there are several pieces of legislation now that do address this, but it's something that I would be very, very
on the
involved
federal
in.
level or the state level? I know on
No,
the
on the
state
federal level.
I know on the state level.
No, on the state level, we've done it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're light years ahead of everyone.
I love New Hampshire, and I love the fact that we. The only problem is that we do change every 2 years, and it's hard for that continuity to continue. However, the term limits it's always there's this balance, But the whole issue with the school boards and parents being shut down and their voices. You don't do that in this state.
No.
People are waking up for it, and they're saying, hey, you got to be accountable. There's one town that I think I represent that they said, well, the school board said something to the effect, well, we reserve the right to have a meeting and not post it. What planet are you on? What planet? What gall? It's just, how dare you?
I am all about transparency.
Yeah.
Everything about my campaign is transparent. Everything about my life has always been transparent. Everything about, we serve. My family serves. That's what we do.
Right.
We have always been transparent. And in Congress, same thing. I will post every bill. There will be full transparency because everyone has a right to know what's going on. And when you travel to other countries, and Scott and I spent 4 years in the Indo-Pacific. Scott was a U.S. ambassador appointed by President Trump. We spent 4 years living in New Zealand. And
how was that?
Well, it was wonderful. It was spectacular, beautiful country, awesome people. The Kiwis are just awesome people. But it's a socialist country. I got a chance to see what it's like to live in a socialist country. I got a chance to see what it's like to go to a hospital where they are using treatments for breast cancer that were used 20 years ago in America. They know that there are treatments out there that work, but they won't pay for them. If you are sick and you have the means, you leave and you go to the UK, you go to Canada, you go to the United States. But if you're getting their medicine, you're getting medicine that's 20, 30 years old. Socialized medicine doesn't work. Ask people on Obamacare, how is that working for you? Just ask them.
Right.
I could go on and on and on about socialism, but I do not want my grandchildren being raised in a socialist America. To me, that is the wrong direction. And you asked, why are you running for office? I am a conservative working woman. I am a military spouse, and I am a grandmother. And I don't like the direction this country's headed, and I don't want my grandchildren being raised in a socialist nation.
And you're not going to take it anymore.
And I'm not. Say no to Joe.
Say no to Joe.
That's right. Say no to Joe.
Say yes to Gail.
No socialism, no spending sprees, no higher taxes. Yeah, say no to Joe.
Let people keep their own money. Yeah, I agree. So where are you going next? What's the campaign look like in the next few months? Do you have places to go? Do you You have events that are coming up?
Well, we do have some really exciting things coming up, and I can't talk about them now because they're going to be surprises. But yes, we do have some really important things that are on the horizon, and unfortunately, a large part, as you know, of running a congressional campaign or a Senate campaign or any these days is raising money.
Yep.
And so I'm busy doing that, talking to people, explaining to them why we need to change the direction of the country, why they need to send me to Washington, what I'll do when I get there. I mean, that's all an important part of raising money so that, people know what they're investing in.
How if somebody wants to send you $10, $15, $20 or even $1,000, how do they do that?
Or 5,000 or whatever.
Or 5,000.
www.gailhuffbrownforcongress.com is my website, and I would encourage people to go there if you want to see my issues, if you want to see, my op-eds, if you want to know more about me and what the campaign's doing, if you want to volunteer, we need volunteers. I mean, as we know, the world lives on the internet now,
Right.
and everything you can imagine is on my website. Thank you for asking.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I know how it feels. It doesn't raise itself, and it's hard to fund it, and especially when you're going against a machine that is extremely well funded by this administration. Somehow, they can generate all these tax dollars for Build Back Better, and then it goes to their special organizations, which donate to their party. That's how it works.
That's how it works.
That's how it
politics.
works, and it's hard to. So we're going to take your money to support this person over here, and I'm just sick of it. I'm sick of that whole thing, and it's destroying our country, and it's gone wild. When you look at Nancy Pelosi with I think it's $300 million, she's a rep. She's a rep. How do you get so rich?
You find out months in advance what bills are coming up that affect different businesses like healthcare or high tech, and then you bet on those, just like you would if you went to a casino. You bet on them.
But you know when the number's going to hit.
Exactly. It's called insider trading. It's illegal. My husband, Scott Brown, was one of the founders of the Stock Trade Act that they're now trying to put teeth back into. Yeah. As soon as Scott left, stripped it in the middle of the night.
Probably one of those 2,000-page documents.
Again, what did I say? Nothing in Washington is as it appears. And you have to know where to look for the dirty tricks.
Again, the name of the website?
www.gailhuffbrownforcongress.com.
And where does Scott sing?
All over the place. He just in the shower.
I didn't know Scott Brown was a musician. That's so cool. Well, thanks for coming on the show. We wish you well. And as the campaign goes on, let us know if you want to come back on, and we'll...
I appreciate that. Thank
absolutely.
You.
And again, hit the like button if you're watching this on YouTube, and subscribe. And if you want to donate, please donate. Every amount helps to... be engaged, and if that's all you can do, that's all you can do, but be engaged. This is probably one of the most important elections of our lifetime. So until then, thanks for watching Speaking with the Senator. We'll see you.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.